What's one thing you could buy to make more progress? The other day I asked myself this question, and it's actually a lot deeper than you would think it is. Now, I meant this more in terms of like coding and stuff, but the point still stands. Think about that for a minute. What's one thing you could buy to make more progress in, whatever, than you are right now? So I thought about this for a while before I realized there's nothing. There's not one single thing I could buy to make more progress than I already am. And now you might ask, how could you say that? Like, if you buy like a professional tutor, then you definitely learn faster than you are right now, right? And while yeah, having a professional tutor might help me learn a bit faster, I genuinely think that it really wouldn't make that much of a difference. Allow me to explain why. Imagine that you want to learn how to code. Even if you spent thousands on a tutor who would, stand behind your shoulder and make sure you do everything right, it still doesn't mean you'd make any progress. Because at the end of the day, the tutor can't learn for you. Like, it's up to you to learn. You have to use your own brain to learn the coding material. So if you were too distracted by like video games to actually focus on your coding work, then what use would all the money in the world be? While other people, like this tutor, can give you advice and support, the only person that can actually do the work is you. And this even goes beyond like learning too. Like, imagine you wanted to run a marathon. Even if you paid Mo Farah $1 billion to train you for this marathon, it still doesn't mean that you'd eventually run it. Because if you're oversleeping every day instead of, actually going out for a run, then that coach and the protein powder and the macros, it all wouldn't really matter. You wouldn't really make any progress. At the end of the day, the only person who can learn that concept or run that marathon or do whatever is you. And honestly, that should be so inspiring because it levels out the playing field so much. Like, if you imagine a rich person who has like, a super expensive tutor, you think that they're like so far ahead of you and it's like impossible to catch up to them. But really, if they're like too lazy to put in any effort, then you're not really that far behind. Like, by just putting in genuine effort, you're actually beating out like half the competition. Now, keeping this in mind, let's move into my second part, which is that the internet is overpowered. To understand why, let's go back in time for a minute. Imagine you're in the 1700s. You're like an average Joe, but one of your goals is to learn Polish. How on earth are you, as like, an English speaker, gonna learn Polish? Well, first, you'd have to find someone who actually speaks Polish. And it's the 1700s, there's no internet, right? So how are you gonna do that? I don't even know, like put something in the newspaper maybe? And then once you actually find this person, the second step is to convince them to tutor you for many months until you fully understand Polish. You gotta get down like the grammar, the vocab, the culture, like the pronunciation, all that stuff. And maybe you could try to learn on your own if you could somehow get your hands on a bunch of Polish teaching material, but that would probably just cost like a fortune anyway. Either way, it's gonna cost like a fortune. But now, fast forward to the present. Say that I want to learn Polish. Now let's ask the same question. What do I do if I want to learn Polish? Well, there's like a million different resources on the internet. Like, I could literally just go to like a Polish forum or something and start learning from there. Or, you got like Duolingo, you get flashcards online, like you got so much stuff. You can literally go from knowing nothing to being completely fluent 100% for free. And again, the only thing stopping you from learning these skills is you. You could spend all that money on like, a professional tutor and like all these textbooks and like Duolingo Super Ultra Max, or you could just practice every day. You could watch videos in Polish, you could read forums in Polish, you could find online books in Polish, like completely for free. At the end of the day, it's all up to the effort that you put in to learn this language. The key here, if you haven't noticed it yet, is to put value on your focus, genuine value, like even beyond monetary value. You can't just buy more focus. You only get a certain amount of it before your brain is just like exhausted every day. So it's up to you to decide how you want to spend this focus every single day. Now, it's time to take action. How can you apply what you've learned in this video? First, ask this. What do I want to do? Do you want to learn a new language? Do you want to run a marathon? You gotta make this goal like really clear and solid. Like, become fluent in a language, become certified bilingual, that's like a clear goal. Run a marathon, that's a clear goal. You don't want to say like, I just want to get jacked. That's not a clear goal. You won't know once you're jacked. If you don't have this clear end goal, you might as well just stop watching the video because it won't help you. Next, spend like 5 minutes just looking up how to do this thing. For me, when I was training for a marathon, I literally spent 10 minutes like looking up marathon training routine on my phone, and then I just printed it out and followed it every day. Rather than research like, the best shoes to have or like the best post-workout or like all that, I just did the thing. I just ran X miles every day according to the plan. So your progress should be like the same thing. Just figure out what you have to do and then just do it every day. Now that you know what your goal is and the steps you want to take to get towards it, you just have to do it. You just have to consistently do the thing every day and you'll keep making progress. Being consistent is the most important part, because anyone can plan anything. Anyone can plan to become bilingual and run a marathon and become fluent in like every coding language in a month. Anyone can plan that, but can you actually do it? No, of course not. The only people who will actually do those things are those who consistently practice it every day at like a reasonable pace. The secret to actually making progress is to just stay consistent every day. Even when like, the initial hype wears off and it's starting to feel like a little bit like a chore, just staying consistent there is like the best way to make progress. And remember, if you're watching this video, that means you have access to the internet. And if you have access to the internet, you can learn how to do literally anything. All that's left is for you to put in the actual effort every single day. Alright, that's all I've got for now. Keep making progress. Bye!